Welcome to the Combot Collective.
Hello and welcome to the Combot Collective, bringing you everything you want to know about the 2021 Battlebots season. This is the news and breakdown episode, and I am Sterling Brown, aka Corey the 300th, Battlebots moderator, runner of King of Draft, all that good stuff here with my two usual US and UK correspondents, my co-hosts, Pory Nog and Mr. Redman. How are y'all doing today?
Doing good, thank you, Quit.
Good.
Fantastic, and we're coming up the heels of a fantastic first sixth episode of Battlebots here, and season 6 of Battlebots. And in my opinion, this is the best episode we've had so far this season, I think, in terms of just overall fight quality. There was only 2 real dud fights outside the YouTube exclusive, which, oh man, we'll get to that here in a moment, but you know, Lucky and Blade and Dragon Slayer and Minotaur were both very one-sided. Well, actually, no, Lucky and Blade was a matchup on paper, but Lucky made it look one-sided, that's for sure. And Dragon Slayer and Minotaur went about how we expected, but I mean, Rotator, Black Dragon, Pain Train HiJinx, Pain Train Yeti, HiJinx Kraken, Defender, Riptide, HyperShock, Lockjaw, all were some of the best fights we've seen this season. What were some of y'all's favorite fights so far out of this episode? For me, I would have to go with HiJinx and Kraken. That's probably my favorite fight so far this season, to be honest, in terms of back and forth, lead changes and all of that.
Yeah, my favorite's probably, for this episode, is probably the main event, I'd say. It was just a very good time. Plus I got that Uda at the end. It was just
love a Uda. We're finally getting our Udas. Us out of the arena fans are finally getting our fix here. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
I have to agree with Pory. I very much loved the main event. It's one of the more exciting main events that we've had so far, and to me, it seems so far all the exciting main events have had Lockjaw in it. So it's great to see Lockjaw still going at it, still performing well, and just kicking ass, really.
Yeah, this has to be one of the best 0-2 performances a robot has ever put up. Went fist to fist with HyperShock that entire fight. They went literally a wheel for a wheel. That was an absolute slugfest. Both of them were throwing the exact same kind of punishment out, but Lockjaw was caught reeling in the wrong place, and HyperShock threw him out. That was definitely more of an unintentional Uda than the one we saw last episode with Hydra and Gruff, but you know, Battlebots, they aren't going to do anything about it out of the arena. They don't want to be the people to say, hey, we know that was cool, but we're going to take that away. That's not what we want. They're not going to do that. They know Discovery doesn't want that. But I digress. Yeah. You can see that Will Bagels was shocked. Apparently this one actually happened before Hydra and Gruff. And it makes sense now why Jake Ewert was so eager to do this one here. They thought they were in trouble. They thought they were in some deep shit there, but what a beautiful out of the arena. Just the force, the impact. Threw him in. It was almost like a field goal kind of thing. They had that little yellow pole up, and it slotted between the yellow pole and the polarizer. Fantastic out of the arena. Hopefully, we'll see more out of the arenas now. I'm not saying to exploit the rules or anything, but keep doing it unintentionally because it's a fantastic thing to see. And speaking of fantastic things to see, we finally got to see some real use out of the upper deck this episode in the HiJinx and Kraken fight, but most notably the Defender and Riptide fight. And I know the community has some opinions on on Riptide behind the scenes. We love Defender. Oh no, Defender absolutely rules. And I'm glad we finally got to see that design. Get a little bit of use in this matchup. They haven't gotten a proper lift like we've been hoping to see, but Defender did the new changes that they did make with the more simplified front plow setup. I think that played good dividends for them. But of course, the highlight of this fight being probably the highlight of this episode is one of the highlights of the entire season when it's all said and done. Likely will be the self-riding from Riptide, 15 feet into the air. That was utterly spectacular. What are y'all's thoughts about Riptide the robot here? Because this is a robot. Man, I do want to see fight more, but it's just an interesting case, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that Tony Hawk trick was definitely very cool to watch. Imagine if it would have hit this ceiling.
Oh, we're
If
so
it,
close.
if it hit the ceiling, would just everyone who had Riptide get the William Shatner
I was
clause
just
in
about
King
to
of
say
Draft?
that because it's technically doing it to themselves, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
I guess you'd have to. If
Mm-hmm.
for those who don't know, in King of Draft, if a robot on your own team throws another robot on your own team into the ceiling, that's extra points for you. It's the William Shatner clause. We don't know why we called it that, but it's so rare. No one has hit it yet. I guess that would be. I guess that would count. It was
Yeah.
a spectacular fight. A lot of really good judges' decisions, but like I said, my favorite fight so far. Another really good judges' decisions. I want your thoughts on this fight because this fight has probably been, in terms of judges' decisions in general, even if it was unanimous, this is probably the most controversial decision we've had so far in terms of community discussion and output. HiJinx versus Kraken here. Like I said, a lot of good lead changes. Kraken dominated the first half of it, throwing HiJinx over, really showing some good control. But HiJinx, in their own right, got some huge strikes, ripped some teeth out of Kraken. But Kraken, of course, got HiJinx on the upper deck, something we rarely see. But on the other end, Kraken was definitely a lot more limpy come the end of the matchup. Damage had definitely accumulated. What are y'all's thoughts as judges in this fight? Because I have a bit of a unique take.
Yeah. So I thought the decision was correct, but I think that the decision proves that the judging criteria needs to be reworked a little bit better, because at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
HiJinx had 4 points for damage, and there's an argument to be made for 5 points. You can't give Kraken all aggression because, as per the rules, the fact that HiJinx hit Kraken with its spinner constantly means that it gets at least one aggression point, and then I can't give Kraken all the control points because Kraken was kind of limpy for half the fight. So
Mm-hmm.
I can't. But however, somebody was proposing the idea of a 7-5-5 judging
It's the
criteria,
best way you can do it.
and with the 7-5-5, I think that Kraken would have won, because it would have probably been like 6 damage, 1 in each category for HiJinx, then Kraken getting the rest of those. So I think that might be the answer. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure they're going to do something, but the judging decision was right, but the criteria for it has holes in it, and fight proves it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't really approve of the decision really. I know that as soon as HiJinx was actually dealing damage to Kraken, I thought, well, that's it, Kraken's lost. Even though
Yeah.
that Kraken was mobile and was pretty much controlling where the fight went the entire time. He was being aggressive, he was being controlling, but in the Battlebots category system, that doesn't mean like anything. If like it doesn't mean shit. There's no point in putting any kind of I suppose aggressive or controlling work if your opponent can just take off a bits of you and then win that entire category, and win is solely because their robot had a decently powerful weapon. HiJinx is a powerful weapon, but
Mm-hmm.
it's got bugger all in terms of any kind of control. And the fact that they damaged the mobility of Kraken so badly in that fight near the end was terrible. But at the same time, HiJinx didn't have any mobility either. They had no real control of the battle. They had no real aggression. They only managed to really be aggressive when they actually managed to damage Kraken. And then again, they were both just still kind of sitting there at the end. I think near the end of the fight, from what I remember, it just
They really did. They were both about the
it
same. Yeah.
I pretty much screamed, bullshit when they called HiJinx his name for the win, and it's just a real shame, really, considering that I felt that Kraken was doing very well to control that entire fight, and even when Kraken was indeed crab walking and damaged near that end there, HiJinx I don't think was really showing any kind of more aggression or control. It just was there, spinning him out slightly. And what's worse, the shelf did bugger all as well.
Yeah,
Like,
I will say with that. This is supposed to be the big point getter here for the control bots.
Yeah, like the shelf. Kraken puts HiJinx on the shelf. The shelf is meant to be that instant or quote unquote instant knockout device that's used for control bots. Except there were no signs of, I suppose, aggression or control in the scorecards or like any shelf. Like to me, I didn't get a shelf impression.
Yeah, I feel like this should have been a 3-0 control for Kraken, personally.
Exactly. There was not. Like looking at the scorecards, like the photos that they posted, because of course they had to take photos for it. I didn't see any kind of sign of the shelf.
Yeah, they knew it was going to be iffy.
In kind of the scores. Like they stuck him onto the shelf, and then HiJinx fell off the sides. And I just kind of look at that and think, well, what's the point in the shelf then? You just put this terribly controlled robot up onto the shelf, and they can just drift off to the side. And then Kraken goes into him, they get damaged by him, and that's just it. Like
in theory though, if HiJinx hadn't fallen off the shelf, it would have been counted out though. Like,
yes, I know.
But that just kind of proves that HiJinx at least was mobile enough. Like, you know, if it really was as immobile as everyone was saying, it wouldn't have been able to get off the shelf, I think.
I guess so, but at the exact same time, even though this also says that even the most crab-walky or most damaged of machines could just drift themselves off the shelf and still be mobile, when they really should be shoved up on the shelf. There shouldn't be any side drops for them to sneak out, and they should be counted out. Because otherwise, a fight will just continue on when really we know that the other robot's won because the other robot just doesn't really have any kind of control left. Like, I believe I did hear that the side walls were a last-minute call to just remove them. In the same way that it was a last-minute call for them to say, corner pockets are fine. Because that's what they did. But in doing so, they've kind of gone back a bit on their ideals for Utas and their future for it, because robots can now get stuck in the corner door and still risk health and safety, because that was the reason behind their choice anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And the shelf basically means that a robot, like, the only way you're gonna utilize the shelf in any shape or form, they're only going to get any kind of instant knockout, is when a robot is already immobile and can't really move, which is something that is already count-outable when they're not on the shelf. So the shelf is just really a raised platform of the arena that doesn't really have that much in terms of an impact, aside from acting as an ability to self-right Riptide. It just, to me, the shelf just has no bearing or pizzazz in the fight. It has no power. It has no potential. It just is there, and the sides of the shelf seem to do a lot more damage to horizontals than they do anywhere else.
Yeah, in terms of the shelf...
The one question I have, now that you're showing the card, it reminded me, while I agreed with the decision, I don't understand why Lisa thought that aggression was...
This is the big topic, yeah. Lisa giving aggression to HiJinx.
Yes, that's what I mean.
But no one talks about the fact that Lisa also gave more damage to Kraken than anyone else. It's all very strange, her card.
Like, I don't know, like, I'm sorry, Kraken, but so far I don't really see the 100,000 pounds of crushability.
It was a very hard robot to crush, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's a weird set of surface area.
HiJinx's wheels are made out of like tinfoil and crisps.
But they
can be crushed. Like,
it's easier to grab something like that than, yeah.
I feel like Kraken should at least be able to crush HiJinx. I don't think HiJinx has that much in terms of strong armor anyway. I don't feel like it should. I feel like at least Kraken should be able to crush. But I think one of our mates said that it's because they have such terrible teeth, they're not really going to be biting into anything, which I may agree.
Maybe they're like long poles. They're not those pincery.
Yeah. Maybe they need the quantum treatment. Maybe they need actually some proper crushing teeth. We'll have to see. It's just that I don't really see how HiJinx, the Kraken got any damage on HiJinx when HiJinx looked relatively fine the entire fight. But I don't know how Kraken got less aggression than HiJinx when HiJinx was moving as fast as Granny's Revenge. I just don't really see how the cards could have gone that way, because I think even then it still would have been a 5. Would it be still a 5-5-5?
Yeah, I would have done 1-4 for damage for HiJinx, 2-1 aggression for Kraken, and probably 3-0 control for Kraken. Here's my thing about the whole judge's decision here, and why I'm at peace with the fact that Kraken did win. This is one of those fights, and we've seen these before with fights like the free shipping Duck Mecha Rampage fight, there's so many good fights, like Captain Shredderator and Rotator in the Bounties last year. Some fights, there's just enough solid offense on each end that you can respectably look at both robots and say that, yeah, that one could have won, and yeah, that one could have won. And this is one of those fights for me. That's why I really enjoyed this fight so much. Both robots, I feel like, have a case of winning here. But ultimately, if I was a judge, I would have gone Kraken in this fight. And I think the big issue is, we were talking about right at the beginning of this little segment here, with judge points ratio, 7-5-5 is the way to go, because right now 5-3-3, while it's certainly better than 3-1-1, they give you this 3-point matrix for aggression and control, and they did that because they thought these judges would be willing to go 3-1, 3-0, I mean, or 0-3. But, you can always technically make the case that this bot showed control or this bot showed a little aggression. At that point, you got to give them some point for it. And it's just not enough of a good, you can't weigh it outright. With a 5-point scale, you can at least do 4-1 to signify they did a little bit, or 3-2 or 2-3 to signify, this was a good back and forth then. Or go all the way with 5-0 or 0-5, but I think it's still a little too vague. I know they took one step in the right direction, but I think they need to take one step more in future Battlebots seasons. Also, before we move on to a different fight here, shout out to Derek Young's drawing of Kraken. It's now emote at the Combot Collective's little Discord server. It's the most beautiful interpretation of Kraken I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah, gotta give props to Derek. At least, gotta give props to Derek and Jason for actually giving that 2-2. I just don't. I think Lisa might have just been looking at plans for the new Plan X and just kind of got distracted halfway through the fight.
Oh gosh!
Give us a new Plan X,
very
please.
Strange. I do like Plan X. I really want Tentamushi back. Let her go to King of Bots or somewhere, or maybe a future event we'll be talking about here in a minute. But I digress. Moving on from one controversial fight to another controversial fight, let's talk about that YouTube exclusive there. Now, Pory did discover he caught something here that does make me feel a bit more at peace with the result. It's kind of like the Tantrum Lucky fight. Everyone thought Lucky should have left Tantrum there, but it was pretty clear Tantrum would have been free. You can't make this. You might be able to make this discussion here because at least the fight would have gone on longer if Deep Six didn't get caught up in the kill saws. But Pory did see that there was a wheel snipe by SMEEEEEEEE just before Deep Six went into the kill saws. It might have even dictated Deep Six going into the kill saws.
It made him wobbly.
It was the slightest little bit. There was still like half a wheel on when it went in there, and then it like ripped itself off all the way after the fact. But it was a little slightest bit of damage. I would give that as a fairly legitimate win for SMEEEEEEE. Still silly how it ended. And let's talk about that. This whole kill saw situation. Now, here's my stance on the kill saws. I think that unintentionally, they can add team user pulverizers. They can add the upper deck and the corner corrals and whatever they want to add. But the most effective hazard in the arena is the kill saw slots. This is this competition about the ground game now, and we've seen robots like Lockjaw in the past. Endgame very recently in episode 1, and the skirts of Hydra in that same fight with Endgame playing huge victim to the kill saw slots. Always getting caught up. They stop the ground game a little bit, and they help bots that are more straightforward. Bots like Balespear, bots like Witch Doctor, bots that don't want to rely so much on the ground game. All the horizontal spinners, bots like Tracer. And they give them a chance in that regard. But you can't have them just get stuck there and leave them. And Deep Sixes aren't even ground game 4 because they're there for stability, which makes this even a bit more of a bummer. I know they widened them because they want to do the Arena Pyro, and it looks spectacular. It makes us look a bit more big league. I love it. But if you're going to do that, you got to compensate and give these teams a bit more leeway for these much wider kill saw slots. Because right now, the kill saw slots are deadlier than the kill saws.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
my big issue with it is that they widened the kill saw slots this season. They're wider than they were last season, so they could like do those like pyrotechnics before main events and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Which yeah, those look very cool, and I do like them. But they, from what I gather, they didn't really warn the teams about that, which is something they kind of have to do. Even with the upper deck, like the teams didn't have a whole lot of notice for that. They had a little bit of notice, but like
They kind of snuck
you know,
into
when
the
you're
rules.
when you're making drastic, arena changes like that, you kind of have to warn the team so they can plan accordingly. Otherwise, stuff like the Deep Six fight happens, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, it's all a bit unfortunate. Good debut for SME here, of course. Good TV debut for SME here, or YouTube debut, whatever you want to call it. It was TV edited, and this has to be. I know not every fight can be good, of course, but this has to be the worst fight since Rainbow versus Extinguisher versus Double Jeopardy to get the full TV editing. It was it was so rough. Battlebots didn't even put like a replay segment at the end afterwards. And I don't even remember the last time they've done that. So it was certainly a fight. Smee did get a pretty legitimate win there. But Deep Six still could have at least tried to do something. It could have wobbled around, gyroed around there or something, during that bit left of the fight. But I digress. Smee getting the win here late in the season, 1-0 to start off its season. And before we wrap things up here, talking about the episode, Rotator versus Black Dragon opened up the episode, of course. That was another spectacular fight. Shame for my King of Draft team, though. Rotator did win. Black Dragon, the big asset to my team this year, not looking too hot. But I digress. Very good fight so far. Very good fight. Very good episode. And it's been a pretty good season so far. Well, that'll do it here as we now move on to our news segment here at the Combot Collective. Jumping into the news here, we got a small handful of topics this week, but just before we do jump into that, I do want to say we almost left it out. Pory did say Pain Train last week was going to win, and now look at him. Isn't he so silly? Anyway.
They almost... No, you listen here. They almost won, so I don't want to hear it.
I told you.
They were so close.
I called it right here. I said that
they were dominating.
Yeti wasn't going to be too hot, and that's how this fight was going to be close. It was a close fight, but Pain Train has now been nearly completely splittered versus Hypnodisc in two fights. If they come back for a third fight, that's hype. But we'll have to see.
Yeah. I don't know if they're going to get a third fight after that damage, but hopefully they do. Hopefully they prove y'all wrong, because Pain Train is the real deal. They almost beat Yeti. If a few more hits, Yeti would have been done. Y'all would have been telling me I was right. You should still be telling me I was right because of how good Pain Train
You had a
did,
shot.
But,
you had a shot.
They had a shot, yeah.
Look.
Thank you.
Speaking of damage, jumping into the news here, I've been ignoring this the whole time. I'm not trying to. This is absolutely, excuse my words here, fucking amazing. A couple weeks ago when we were doing Pory's Lifting Arm Saga, I brought up how I was never much of a Battlebots part collector. I always appreciated people who did. I like seeing the collections, but it just never was something for me money-wise. One of the team members of Team P1 hit me up and just said, like, hey, is that true? You're not much of a collector? And I was like, yeah, not really my thing usually, just in terms of money. And they were like, oh, just let us know your address. We've been enjoying what you've been doing. And so lo and behold, I got the P1 swag. It's in the living room. I'm going to get a corkboard, in fact, fairly soon and start putting some of this stuff up on camera. But I got to show it off. I don't want to show off my pants, but I got the P1 shirt. We're rocking it out here. And, of course, they sent me this, and I am just giddy. The P1
That's
wheel,
awesome.
authentic.
Look at that.
Got the certificate of authenticity in the living room. I don't know if I'll frame it or I'll put it up somewhere around here. I'll keep it near the wheel. I don't know what fight it's from yet or what fights it may be from. And I don't want to ask until probably the end of the regular season, or maybe they'll see this and tell me. But there's clearly some weapons, some horizontal spinner, maybe a kill saw slash right here. This is the big one. These two right there here. I don't know. I don't want to lean forward and break anything. And you probably can't hear me well, but Here we go. They left me
Yeah.
a sweet message right there. Get the signatures. Shout outs to all Team P1. Shout outs to Anthony D'Ambrosio. Shout outs to Brandon Zielinski and the rest of the team. I feel horrible drawing a blank on the other two members. But this is so amazing. And it's going to be on the set every single episode. You can guarantee that. I'll be repping the P1 shirt very often. I'll put it up there with the Broncos shirt and the Farouk shirt. And this is just absolutely spectacular. So thank you again to P1.
How heavy is that tire, would you say?
It's a little less than 10 pounds, I would say.
Okay.
It's heavy though. It's a lot heavier than you would think it would be.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
there's
how the
some weight to
deadlift
that.
arms were. Especially that first one. That first one was like 50 pounds. I'm like, bro, I can barely lug it to the UPS store.
Yeah, and like we were talking about, it's bigger than I thought it was going to be. I know I've been to Battlebots. I know the scale of some of these robots. When I stood next to Mammoth in 2019, it literally came up to my face. Standing next to Tombstone's insane. The blade's thicker than my arm. But I was imagine P1 being a sleek robot. It is a sleek robot compared to a lot of the field, but even then, it's still this tall and this like big. Like I did not imagine its wheel being this big. I thought it was gonna be like maybe 2/3 of the height. And I also didn't think they'd send me a wheel when they said this. I thought they were gonna send me like, some internal stuff, maybe a gearbox if I'm lucky. But I didn't. Not in my wildest dreams. I think they'd send me something distinguishable and identifiable like a wheel. But no, this made my day.
Yeah, that's
yesterday.
awesome.
Oh my goodness, it's absolutely fantastic.
Shout out to P1.
Shout out to P1. Shout out to the whole team.
They're
man.
fantastic. They're a fantastic machine, and we should have them sponsor us as soon as possible because we love them.
Oh
They're a
man,
Have
great
them on the
control bot.
podcast.
we'll have
We
them
hope-
on
we hope
whenever.
them-
Go ahead, Red.
We hope them to win the giant nut. We hope them
Oh,
to win the
yes.
giant nut. Obviously.
They are. They might not be on my King of Draft team, but they are in my heart. 110%. I'll be cheering for them like I cheer for Orby and all my Texas bots. They are right there all the way for me, and it's such a good story. Like what you're saying, Red and Pory, when we do get more of a steady schedule here at TCC and we get to the point where we can comfortably bring some team members on from our other teams, I definitely want to have the P1 guys come in here, like one of the first teams we have. But besides that, they're just a fantastic team, a fantastic robot. I mean, just go back to Parallax 2018 and how far they've come. They were like, people joked about them being the one robot that literally didn't make TV in any capacity pretty much. And then we have what happened in 2020 with the Justice for P1, and it was just how ridiculous that whole thing was. It's a 2-in-1 robot, let it in. But that's in the past now. They look fantastic now. They have to be a playoff lock with how things are going right now for them. All the love to Team P1 and the rest of their crew. It really does. It gave me a loss for words, and it's just exciting to see all this happen. But let's move on to some proper news here. Now moving on to our proper robot combat news. 2 bot upgrades here and some big news coming out of the Russian scene. But first, let's talk about what's going on here with Petunia coming out of the Netherlands, a country that hasn't had the best of luck in Battlebots through the past couple of years, mainly because of COVID. Of course, Petunia was the only robot at 2019 Battlebots representing Holland, and they had a rough year that year. 2020, Petunia was supposed to come back with their flamethrower pincer, alongside Ominous, of course, coming from the reality guys, the gravity guys of past. But their own issues stopped them from coming. They even got the robot shipped all the way there this season, and then, visa issues happened. So 2022, we're hoping for Ominous.
Wait, Petunia?
No, reality. I mean, Ominous.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
I was gonna say because I'm pretty sure Petunia was rejected in season
Petunia
6. if
was
I'm not mistaken.
rejected. But
Yeah.
hopefully they won't be this year, because we do know that they have been making some more upgrades, as they just posted just a couple days ago. Let me get that date real quick. On February 12th, just 3 days ago, as of our recording here, they posted that it is Petunia upgrade time. At the moment, they are preparing their new weapon they have been working on. They're doing some more testing, and they plan on giving us a sneak peek soon. So we'll have to see what that's all about. I can only assume this is the flame-throwing pincer, something we've seen in the past on a bot like Mohawk before. Not with too much success. I think the most impactful crush Mohawk ever got with the flame-throwing pincer was that one that had on Lycan back during the Gears Awaken in 2016. But Petunia has showed some real promise in the past. It was proper playoff contender in 2018. Got a big win on Rotator. Just looked really consistent in terms of just being a steady crushing robot. The whole pinch it thing became a bit of a catchphrase in BattleBots. Then they didn't really bounce back in 2019, but hopefully we can see these guys again because I love all these classic teams, and of course these guys have some real history. These guys are Dutch Robot Wars champions, one of the real legends of the Dutch scene. You know, you have Team Tough as Nails, you have Team Petunia, and then you have Team Gravity. And seeing all three of those guys appear in some capacity in 2018 was cool, and hopefully we can see it again in 2022. What are y'all's thoughts on Petunia here?
I hope they get in. I really like Petunia. It's a very cool robot, and it's always done pretty well. I mean, it went 2-2 in 2018.
I believe so. I think it should have been one of those robots in the Last Chance Rumble.
Yeah, it should have probably. I think I heard somewhere that it apparently
they might have not. Yeah, they might have not even got accepted. That monsoon one was bad.
Yeah, they got messed up pretty bad, and then in season 4 they did pretty good too. They went 3-3. I mean, 2 of their wins were exhibition fights. One of them against Sub-Zero. And
wow, thanks.
You know, when they beat Sub-Zero, it was very impressive. But yeah, they're definitely a good robot, and I think statistically, Petunia might be the most successful crusher battle. Kraken might have overcame that last season, but
I don't know. Kraken also drew even last season, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, Kraken might technically have more wins than Petunia is what I mean. Petunia has, I think, 6 wins right now or something like that.
Yeah.
Because I think they had an exhibition win in 2018 too, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
But
they're
definitely
US
a
versus world win. I think that team.
Oh right. The U.S. versus the world. That's what it is. Yeah.
Here, let's pull it up.
So yeah, they have
a record here.
They had three dubs in each, so 6 wins, which is not bad at all.
Yeah, career record is 6-5, so they have a winning record. And I don't even.
Yeah.
I mean, both those Dutch robots did really good in 2018. They both got kind of gypped. Reality went 3-2. No one talks about Reality, which is a shame because that robot was beautiful.
I agree.
Yeah. We do love our European robots. I love seeing these guys in the UK World Championships and stuff. Yeah. Repping the Elvis outfits then. They still rep the Elvis outfits now.
I think it'd be great to have Petunia back. I mean, I was a very big fan of Mohawk when it was around. I mean, it was a shame that I didn't really get any proper crushes in because I really wanted to see how that flamethrower injecting nozzle would work in a actual successful scenario. We might actually get to see it now in terms of Petunia if it actually has some proper crush to it. I'm not quite sure, but I'd love to see Petunia back because I think out of the 2 machines between Kraken and Petunia, I feel like Petunia may have the better chance to be a decent crusher and actually crush through machines than Kraken. Though making a crusher these days, as we know, in modern times, is difficult. The only one that's really managed to do so is the Quantum/Spectre team, which was a phenomenal achievement in itself, really. So it'd be good to see someone else managing to come along and show the world that yes, crushers can still crush, crushers can still break through your machine, even though you make it out of AR 500. You know, I want to see a good crush, and if Petunia can provide that, then I think Battlebots would be happy to keep. I think Battlebots would be happy to keep bringing it back.
Right. No, they're good showmen. They have a good presence about them. They're fun, and even if you still gotta have robots that are middling that can win or lose a fight. You know, fill people's schedules, and that's a good robot for that, just because they have that deep Battlebots history. So yeah, we're excited to hopefully see more Petunia in the future in some capacity. Maybe even it can compete in some other scenes. I would love to see that as pacifier or something. But now moving on from a robot we have seen in Battlebots before to a robot that we haven't, but have seen at other events. So when we were doing our first news thing, this might have even been our first news segment, in fact, that we did. We were talking about Rick Russ, the crew chief of Team Tombstone Hardcore Robotics, leaving after, over decades being with the team. And apparently he was partial captain of Swamp Thing, took over the reins of that robot, now on his own team, Team Swamp Thing. And we got our first post of this new version of Swamp Thing. It's apparently going to be a completely brand new build. Maybe they're still using the bones of the classic Swamp Thing, but I guess we'll just have to see. And a bit interesting. We all knew it was going to be a vertical spinner, but I don't think this was the route we were expecting here. Quoting it off the Facebook page themselves, this was also on February 13th, just a few days ago. What do you get when you combine a half-inch thick AR500 plow with a 20-pound disc on an 1.5-inch thick shaft with a 20-horsepower motor behind it? You get one hell of a gut ripper that'll tear through the toughest underbelly of any while surviving anything other bots can throw at it. I stroked out there at the end. My apologies. So yeah, I'll put pictures up right here. And I mean, it looks great. It looks sleek. I love it's very like we were talking about. It's ankle biter-esque. This is like, we got him right here. Perfect. Da-da-da. You know, it's the same concept here. We got the saw up front, you know, right up the wedge. But there's just a lot of things wrong here that we just got to go through. And this is no disparage to Rick Russ. We clearly love Rick Russ. We devoted a whole post to his time with Death Star, his time with Shredderator. And we even we talked about him leaving Team Hardcore Robotics. I don't know if anyone else did, but here we are talking about Swamp Thing, and I'm excited about this. I want to see Swamp Thing in Battlebots 2022, especially if it has the tail. I'm a sucker for tails on robots. But let's just look at this thing here. This is a very steep wedge.
I have a few reservations about this design.
And you can do what Tantrum does, have the two long forks sticking out of the front. Sorry, Pory.
Yeah.
But still.
I got a feeling that the reason why the weapon isn't as bulky or as powerful as it is because that might not be the main intention that Swamp Thing's going for. It might be that the Swamp Thing is going to have a damaging vertical option, but they may put like the rest of the weight into the armor and the protection, so that way they have that control bot like aspect to it, like the previous Swamp Things.
Yeah, that is a good take on that. I could see them going with that because that is a big issue a lot with these, you know, gruffs and free shippings have. And Swamp Thing, of course, people who know Swamp Thing or the Great Pumpkin from Robo Games know that they kind of fall under that same vein. They're more of a tank style robot. They were a 2-wheel drive plow front wedge at Robo Games, and they always had good success. How do you translate that to Battlebots? Well, this is a fairly good way to tackle that. I think you have a good point there, Red. You know, something to give you some damage points, but, you know, it's clearly not going to be the main focus. But, yeah, that's going to have to be something because this weapon weighs 20 pounds, guys.
Yeah.
I think even Tantrum weighs more.
Yeah, it's a puncher. I think it's like a 25, 30 pound puncher.
I don't want to be an armchair builder.
Yeah,
I really don't want to be an armchair builder, and I do want to see it. But I can't imagine a 20-pound disc is going to do that much. Plus, I'm worried that it's going to have like a Cobalt complex where like the weapon is a little too high. Like they're going to have to really get underneath robots. And like you said, there might be forks involved. Like we'll definitely see. I mean, this is early steps of the build, but it does seem like this is more of a defense robot than an offense robot, which is cool. You know, I mean, something tells me it's like built with the intention, like they know that if they get in, they're gonna have a Tombstone main event round 3, so they're like prepping for it like 3 fights ahead of time. Like because like it seems like that's what
they throw Tombstone at round 1. Sorry.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like that might be a part of this. Although to be fair, the wedge is a similar shape to the original Swamp Thing anyway, so it's not like a totally out of left field sort of design. But it just really depends how powerful that weapon is. I mean, if that weapon can keep spinning and stuff, it might have potential to do something. But one thing I gotta address is I feel and I don't mean this with any disrespect, but the only reason this thing is gonna get in is because of the rivalry with Hardcore Robotics and the drama behind it. Like I like if this was built by like me, if this was like a competently built robot by like me, it would get rejected. But like the fact that it's like the Tombstone Rick Russ, like the Rick Russ drama, like I feel like that kind of gives it a little more weight to get in this season.
For sure. That's my big thing here is that, but this is also, that could also really help it because, this is a very, to be nice to Team Hardcore Robotics because I love Ray. I've put over Ray all the time because of my time in Battlebots 2019 talking to him. But this has been a very uneventful Tombstone season. Like, we're so used to Tombstone being such a key focal point of the season. Main events, big wins, playoff picture. But Tombstone has died kind of quickly in its first fight and then had a really weird split judges decision second fight. Double knockout. That doesn't, it's a win, and that win might be enough to get Tombstone into the playoffs because it's Tombstone, but it's definitely one of the more wins of the season. Just, they were great hits, both Mammoth and Tombstone had, but yeah, it's just, and of course there's a controversy with that fight that we've talked about in the past as well, with contradicting points from both Hardcore Robotics and for other teams that was in the venue in terms of what happened there, but it's all just very strange. So, but that's not the point here. My point is that this is a season where Tombstone is not as relevant in terms of the TV picture. Of course, Ray Billings is always going to be a key character on this show and in the Battlebots folklore and just the sport as a whole. But sometimes they're going to need something. They might need a little bit more for Ray this season in terms of what they're going to do. What narrative do we want to have for Ray Billings, who, may go out in top 16, top 32 again this year? Give him this. This is his crew chief, upset, frustrated, after some middling seasons, and he's now doing his own thing. They're using the team's B-Robot Swamp Thing as his own thing. It's like the Ragnarok Monsoon thing all over again. They can work with that. They can even make a main event out of it, maybe if they want to. If they do it round 1, have it episode 3 or something. I don't know what they want to do. I don't know. And wrapping up our news here, a pretty exciting bit of news. Just a couple weeks ago, we were talking about the New Zealand scene and their recent jumps to making heavyweight events happening. Of course, sportsman heavyweight events. No endgame, no death roll happening there. But they do have this brand new arena. They're going to start doing annual events, I believe, in September. So we are excited for the New Zealand scene, and we'll be reporting those. But we might also be reporting this. The Robot Combat heavyweight scene is waking up again. It's getting back alive just in time for TCC to cover all this here. Really exciting because we have news from none other than Team Solarbot. I got to look over here because I can't get it to translate on my laptop. This is on their page. And if you don't know Team Solarbot, of course, the only really popular Russian robots are Weber, who have competed in Robot Wars and King of Bots, and Rainbow, who has competed in Battlebots. But the third robot that always performs really well at these Russian events is a robot called Archie, or a Solarbot, as a lot of international fans know it as. And it's pretty much a classic Brit flipper. It's a rounded shell design. I'll have footage of it right here. But it's a really solid robot. And I feel like if it ever got the chance to perform internationally, it would do really good. People would know on online communities. I've petitioned to have both Weber and Solarbot both appear in Battlebots, or maybe even King of Bots, like Weber once did. Mainly Battlebots, though. But I digress. This is big news coming out of them because we haven't seen a Russian event at all since Bitva Robotov 2019, where those teams competed. And here we go. This is what they've said this year. Friends, since there have been no competitions in Russia for a long time, our old robots are gathering dust in garages, and new teams have no incentive or interest to assemble a robot. There are now proposals to hold a warm-up competition in May. If there are enough teams, large-scale competitions are also planned in September to November. I don't know if that means September through November, or September and November, or in that window. But yeah, September through November with the invitation of foreign teams. We can expect at least 16 teams from Russia and 8 foreign teams from around the world. So this is super exciting here. The countries that they cited were USA, Brazil, China, and India. And I don't know if that's confirmed or just countries that they want. Rest in peace, UK. In the 110 kilogram category, or the Battlebots heavyweight class, it's about that same level. Of course, these competitions can't be held with a sufficient level of training from robots from Russia. And to do this, we propose to organize friendly meetings and test competitions with various types of robots to develop skills, identify weaknesses, and to improve these robots. They are glad to have new teams in the 1.5 kilogram, the 25 kilogram, and of course the heavyweight 110 kilogram categories, as well as teams representing schools, colleges, universities, and other companies, modeling, and robotics clubs. They will be especially glad to see non-typical constructions, unique designs of robots, with an original way of destroying the enemy. Their words, not mine. They want to see some destruction there in Russia. Grants can be discussed for the implementation of very interesting projects like any hobby. Building a robot requires skill, equipment, and financial investment. We, in turn, are ready to help you competently assemble your robot and answer your questions. So this sounds really good, and if you are in Russia, Europe, any of that area, and are interested in that, I will put this link in our description because we want to see this scene grow. We love the Russian scene. I was always a big follower of them when Robots Live started going over there with Chronic and Stinger and all of that. But yeah, CREOBOT, Creobot, or CREOBOT.ru is their URL. Like I said, I'll put this in the description below. Hopefully we can see a growing heavyweight scene in Russia, another hotbed for these teams to start scouting, for BattleBots, and it's all just super exciting. The big thing here, though, is grants. Grants, international competitions. Seems like they have a lot of lofty proposals here, exciting proposals, though. What are your thoughts about this?
I'm very much looking forward to it. I've never really followed the Russian scene before, but I should probably go down the rabbit hole and dig because there's old videos of this stuff, right?
Oh, yeah. I think most of the 2018 and 2019, maybe the 2017 competition as well.
Yeah, so I definitely want to look into that, and I'm definitely interested in looking into the new scene that's up and coming, and that should be a lot of fun. I always love to see representation all over the world, and it's great to see that Russia is finally getting back in the swing of things with some robot combat, and I look forward to see who competes. Yeah,
absolutely. Robots like Rainbow, like we said in the past, really made a bit of a good impression the one season they appeared in a very international season. And of course, these guys have always had a strong appearance in international events, like I believe Team Weber or some Russian team, might have been the Rainbow team, appeared at Clash Bots with a flipper named Energy. And of course, Weber appeared in King of Bots and This Is Fighting Robots. So they have some international acclaim, these teams. And there's other robots in there, like I want to say there's a Serbian robot called Ice Pick or Hammerhead. It's like sort of a Stinger-style thwacking hammer. Of course, we'll likely see Rainbow again. Maybe we'll see even some older robots like Rake appear again from other teams, like in the past. Anyway, it's a big field in Russia. I know they are inspired and they do have an arena ready to go for stuff like this. Hopefully they still have it. It is a very exciting development here, and hopefully TCC can cover more Russian events in the future as we now wrap up our news here. Wrapping it up here, this has been the Combot Collective, of course. We've done things a little bit differently this episode. Now that we're mixing in a bit of a breakdown segment as well. I didn't like the fact we weren't doing any breakdown at all for these episodes, but I wanted to have something without trying to force ourselves to do a whole episode talking about things that weren't really key. We're breaking down a lot of the stuff here, though, for the key stuff of the episode, like some of the controversies, some of the bigger fights, some of the cool things that came out of it. It was a fantastic episode 7, of course. And in terms of our news here, breaking down our news, of course, the wheel sent to me by Team P1. Thank you so much again. I am in absolute love with this thing. I've been enamored of it for the past day. It's going to be on our set forever and a day. I love this thing so much. And of course, proper Battlebots news here. Team Penunia announced that they've been working on their upgrades, planning to apply for Season 7. Hopefully we'll see them back. Swamp Thing, another robot that's hopeful for Season 7. We've seen them in robot games in the past. Captained by Rick Russ, the Team Hardcore Robotics priorly, the former crew chief of the team. Showed off their brand new weapon. It's a bit interesting of a design. And of course, the big news, in my opinion, coming out of Russia, Team SolarBot talking about this. They have intentions to do a heavyweight meeting in May and some further ones after that. But the big news, planned event between September and November that's going to have international invitees along with 16 Russian robots as well. That's going to be something the Combot Collective will cover. We'll cover any of these events that Russia's doing with heavyweights. We want to be all over that, and we're excited to see their scene grow during this. That being said, as we wrap up on out of here, this is Sterling Brown right here. You can find me on Instagram at SterlingTXTG. You can also find me in future projects this year. WrestleMania weekend is coming up, and I'll be doing a vlog. I'm going to be attending that for my vacation. That's going to be a fun thing if you happen to also be a wrestling fan. But also my other people here, Porynog. You can find him on YouTube at www.porynog.xyz. He does gaming videos and other retrospective style videos, and he even does some robot combat footage as well. Along with him, we also have Mr. Redman, who is starting his new job in the next week. We're excited for him. You can find him on his website, www.joshuagunnett.com. That's with 2 T's, or on his YouTube of the same name. That's my cast. That's me here, and that's all we have to talk about here at the Combot Collective. It's been another week giving you the news. Thank you so much for listening. The outro you're hearing right now is done by our team member, Sevalent. And thank you so much.
This was the Combot Collective. Find us on Instagram and Discord.